this is the first time in life I've had to like wrestle or reconcile with the unknown. Because I used to call AI the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unknown. And so, but again, my energy and my focus is only on what I can do. I always say
Right.
be proactive and positive. There's no doubt that, things can be crazy. Things may get crazy because humans are humans.
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon. And in studio today, we have an author, an AI guru who, well, self taught, I suppose.
Yeah.
The director of AI at Bot Builders, a four-time Inc. 5000 company, Arvell Craig. Thanks for being here, Arvell.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
This is going to be a lot of fun, man.
Definitely.
Before the show, we were kind of talking about how you got into AI. Let's take a step back and let's kind of talk about how we met each other
Okay.
in the sake of community. So, I nominated you to be on Extraordinary.
Thank you.
How many years ago do you think it was that we connected?
It was an AI event, or I was speaking about AI
Yeah.
at the in Mesa. It was
Yes.
something
Yeah. It was like a startup week, I think, or something like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Salt Summit.
Yeah. Salt Summit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That was yeah, that was like 3 years ago. That's nuts. How long you been speaking on AI then?
Speaking about I mean, probably 6 months after it came out, I probably had a digital summit, came to, Phoenix, and I talked about AI and email marketing probably. But if you're calling AI, if I can use my chatbot background, I started a company called Chatbot Funnels
Okay.
back in 2017, and so I was doing talks about chatbots and natural language processing and automating messaging back then, so
Okay.
it's been a
Ve
minute.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
man. Very cool. And, so you've got this background in marketing, right? And then this new AI comes out,
yeah.
You've always been a guy who, like, just likes to try out the new things.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah?
me.
What was the journey like, How'd you because the reason I ask is
Mhm.
because we're here now,
Okay.
right? 2026, and, like, AI is inescapable, but it seems like you were on the front end of that wave since
Mhm.
you were talking about language processing with chatbots, I don't know, 10 years before that.
Yeah.
How what did that arrival of the technology feel like for you?
Like the current version of AI or
When you first yeah, we can talk about either one. When you first got it or now? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, to me, it's always been fascinating. I mean, I studied computer science when I was in college. Can't say I learned anything, but again, it's like I like to do stuff or wanted technology to do stuff for me, but I wasn't that great with math. I wasn't that great with engineering, but that's
Okay.
what I was studying. But the internet comes out
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's this internet thing? And all the stories where this is a new shiny object, you can make money. I'm looking at Wired magazines, hearing these crazy stories, and I'm
Right.
just gullible or just excitable. And so that's what shifted my direction for the past 20 years was, oh, the internet can do this. Oh, the internet can do that. And so I'm not a hacker, but I'm creative and I can solve problems myself. Like you were saying earlier about YouTube, you can figure stuff out on YouTube.
Yeah.
The internet was my way to figure stuff out and to play and make money. And so and as the internet has changed and it keeps evolving, when AI came out in say in 2022, it was just the next evolution of how is this internet changing, helping me to have fun, make money, help people. That's kind of been the journey. And it's all to me, I see it all connected. There's no difference between the late 90s, early 2000s of the internet,
Yeah.
Flash, SEO websites, PPC to now with ChatGPT and all this other stuff. It's the same journey to me.
So, have fun, make money, help people.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are the
Yep.
3 principles?
Pretty
Yeah?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about, like, how important play is in what you do,
Mm,
especially when it comes to there's so many new things to play with.
yeah.
Yeah. What role does play have in, like, your creativity that's gotten you to where you are professionally?
That's interesting. I mean, I think it's just part of my nature. I think different people are motivated intrinsically or internally, naturally in certain ways.
Yeah.
Um, that's just I've always been led by my creativity. And again, I was cutting hair at 9 years old. I was charging my friends at 10. So it wasn't about business. It was about I've got a skill. I'm kind of artistic. We should draw Nike symbols and stuff in
Okay.
back of people's hair. This is back in Detroit.
Uh-huh.
So it's this to me, it's just I know everybody's not like that. So it's not like everybody has the same North Star that drives them. And honestly, sometimes I wish I was a little more pragmatic, a little more focused, a little more structured, or I could just, pay taxes and be smart versus just being like I've been playing. So that's just I think I've come to accept That is a large part of my nature, and but it also sustains me because we got goals, we got dreams, but it's like I enjoy the journey. So regardless if I don't reach this goal or that goal, I'm still aiming for it, but I'm definitely happy along the way.
Do you really think that you wish you were not bit by this entrepreneurial creativity bug?
I wish sometimes I had a little bit more security, a little
Okay.
more stand again, again, it's both. I think life is not balance, it's counterbalance. You got this season, you may be in school, you're busy, you may be have young kids, you may have health issues. Life is not always balanced. You can't control it, but you can counterbalance. And if I had a little bit longer of a traditional corporate job for 20 years and I had 401k stacked up over a couple of decades and then I got a chance to play, it may provide a little more comfort and security for my wife, but again, it is what it is. This is kind of where I'm going. So,
Yeah. No, I love it. I think you live and die by the play,
yeah.
right? So like, what's been your favorite part about? I'm asking this because a lot of you hear all the adages, right? Of like, if you find what you love and you but you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Mhm.
But what I've also noticed in a lot of these conversations with extraordinary people is play is a red thread in work.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's still work,
Yeah.
right? Like how does that when when you just say play, how does how does adult play look, I guess?
Hmm. Interesting. Um, Again, to me, it's very subjective. It's like you got to know yourself because I think a part of us can just we can be playing in other people's stories.
Mm,
We could have been taught certain ways or thinking different things, especially if you're connected online and you're just following what people say you should do. But I think adult play is knowing yourself and knowing again, like talk about authentic stories. I think and that takes discovery. I think you got to like mature enough to actually decrypt the clutter of programming from society or the things and figure out who you really are. But again, even can work. Again, even like I run marathons and ultra marathons. So a lot of things that can seem hard,
yeah,
people that lift weights, to anything, there's a lot of nuance in what play and work is. And I think again, it is kind of a sometimes it can be a masochistic perspective where you
sure.
learn to enjoy the pain,
Yeah.
um, in some ways. So again, for me, it's just learning myself and learning what I enjoy, and and also being at peace with the aspects that I can't change and just going with it. I think there's a peace and there's a contentment that can also be a sense of play where this is who I am. I don't have to be somebody else and I'm content with who I am.
Yeah. Well, I love that you talked about, finding out who you are, and that's like a lifelong process. But was there like a moment earlier on where you just kind of something you talked about removing the clutter and the programming? Was there a moment earlier in your life where kind of for the first time maybe saw Arvell?
Mm, that's deep. I wish I could say yeah, but I can't think of a moment where I just saw myself. Um Again, I think when I was younger, I was yeah, a lot of other people and I was very blessed to have environments and people, and again, growing up in Detroit, where some people would go a certain path. My environment was always going in a good path, so I
Okay.
just did what other people did, which
Yeah.
happened to be good.
Uh-huh.
And I think as I got older, I think when I got to college, I learned about, different organizations and things like that. So again, environment shifted me and people shifted me. So there's been a constant, like, I feel like my eyes have been opened more and more and more because I think there's also exposure. When I'm exposed to new things, like, "Oh, I like that," and there's another exposure, "Oh, there's that." So I think that's kinda been the more of the journey versus moving other stuff and it's just me, but it's just as I discover and as I'm aware, move things like, "You know what? I think I can go that way. I think I wanna do that too." So that's kinda been more of my journey, I think.
Well, that's interesting. So you kind of talk about how you were following other people as you were younger,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And you talk about awareness and like how it seems like people are a catalyst for your awareness. They
Yeah.
help open you up. What role has your connections and your community shaped in your personal journey?
Mm. Yeah, like I said, I've got very close friends who I still have friends with since back in college. First semester of college, one
Wow.
guy was in all my almost 5 or 6 of my classes, this one guy was in there,
Uh-huh.
and, he helped shaped my perspective of what I even thought about my career. We ended up starting some business together back in college,
Cool.
so that was one, and then one moment I will think about what shaped me was I remember I got big into self-help books.
Okay.
I worked at Barnes& and Noble.
Oh, cool.
I
Okay.
got into speed. I never read in high school. I was never a reader,
Okay.
but somewhere in college, when I got into the business bug, I started reading a whole lot of books, read all the self-help books,
Okay.
learned how to speed read, and I remember going to Thanksgiving dinner with my brother. He was in Manhattan at the time, and I remember spitting and speaking all these quotes
Yeah.
and all these things like, "Imma die empty, Imma do this," quoting, you know, all this
Yeah.
stuff,
Uh-huh.
and there came a moment where he was like, "What are you doing for a living again?" You know, working at Barnes& and Noble,
Yeah.
and he began and I think it was at a dinner table,
Uh-huh.
and he began to bust my bubble on all these kind of things where there was a facade, and because again, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed reading and learning, and I just would speak, 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 but my actions was a far
Interesting.
gap between what I was actually
Yeah.
speaking and doing, and this was, again, 20 2000, 2001, 2002, like, but
Yeah.
he bust my bubble, and that was, like, one of the first, like, awakening moments where I could see the disconnect
Ah,
of what I'm saying, what my pleasure, my play was
yeah.
actually reading and learning,
Right.
but I wasn't aware that there was a disconnect with how I was
But
living.
there was the application of the learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then how did how did you start to apply your learning? How do you maybe still do it now?
Honestly, it's still the same thing. I still get excited,
Yeah.
and that's where, like, there's an acceptance, like, I do like to learn, and I realized, like, 10 years ago that I like to speak. I like to teach. And so a part of that is like, I can actually work with that. I
Yeah.
like this phrase, nurture your God given nature. And I'm like, in one sense, that part of me is part of my work
Yeah.
learning, and I've realized that through AI and all the different things that I get excited about. I speak, I write books, so that has worked. But then again, on the counterbalance of actually putting in work, um, honestly, it's a constant challenge because again also makes me like AI or agents or productivity because I see, okay, I need help. How do I find a new book,
Yeah,
a new
yeah.
hack, a new strategy to be more focused? So again, honestly, it goes back and forth. I get excited, I go crazy on one saying like, but I've learned to wake up and have accountability. I have friends and relationships that also help me to say, "What's your goal this week?
Yeah.
How's it going?"
Right.
So I've always been into like relationships, goals, coaching, and I think that helps to balance and kind of redirect my focus.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a guy with so many activities and hobbies and
Yeah.
professional pursuits that are built on like habits,
Hmm.
like you don't just run a marathon, right? Like you're constantly working on that, or an ultra marathon or books,
Yeah.
even,
Yeah.
uh, like how do you create and maintain your habits?
Hmm. How do I create and maintain my habits? Again, a lot of this comes naturally. A lot of it is just there's a natural energy that just that helps. Again, it's like when I got into running, I hated life, I hated business. I had an SEO company
Uh huh.
back in the 2000s, whatever, 2007, 8, 9. Google made some changes, business crashed,
Yeah.
clients got upset. I was kind of immature. I didn't know what to do. So I felt
Yeah.
like something was wrong with me. I didn't know that life happens, that things there's seasons. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting mad at winter or
Uh
getting
huh.
mad at rain or tornadoes when that's
Uh-huh.
just there's seasons that I didn't recognize. So I got into running. And after a week or 2, I just try to escape. But eventually the endorphins kicked in.
Right.
Initially, there was a chemical hormonal change that shifted where that caused me to enjoy this stimulus, this
Yeah.
natural high that
Yeah.
I began, and that my daughter was young, maybe I don't know 6, 7, 8 years old, and I was the entrepreneur, so I had to have the schedule to do most of the stuff around the house.
Yeah.
But I became a morning person because that was the only time I could run consistently. So that made me a morning person. That and all these other habits came out of becoming a morning person because I enjoyed running. I began to have like my morning routine, prayer, meditation, journaling, all these other habits
Uh,
spawned out of that enjoyment for running and running marathons and the training and the structure for doing that. Lost 15 pounds, looking high school skinny,
yeah.
So it was just, there was a ripple effect from that one, situation. And I think that To this day, I'm still a morning person. I get up at 4:30 and, but yeah, it's just again, a lot of again, this I'm realizing there's a theme there of like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
enjoyment and kinda trusting it, and there have been ripple effects that make other habits, kinda come natural alongside.
Yeah, like, you enjoy something so much that, like, almost the rest of your life kind of follows in fills in around it.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So, like, let's talk about your daughter because, I mean, she's also in a very, like, habitual, disciplined
Mhm.
profession,
Yeah.
Like, how has it been to see her grow up, but also to, like, instill and parent and those habits that you learned yourself?
Mm. Yeah, no, it's been a blessing to have a daughter who listens, for the most part, and it was a great experience. I mean, she was in gymnastics, and then she got into dance. And, got into competitive dance while in high school, but yeah, and it took a lot of time and, being a dance dad, and but that was definitely I mean, for those years, again, I didn't have any instruction on
Yeah.
dancing 'cause I'm not a
Uh-huh.
dancer necessarily, well, but eventually when she got into choreography and she wanted feedback from me and my wife, so that was kinda cool to kinda give her some insight, to kinda push her there, and now she's in college, and then finally I get to kinda like, "Dude, you need to stop asking me for money." So now it's like it's shifting where I get to,
Uh-huh.
like, not just talk about things, but she needs there's new conversations, there's new challenges, and she's, trying out for different kind of dance teams and competitions in college, so it's definitely shifted now, and it's
Yeah.
it's a blessing to be able to, again, have her ear and be able to kinda speak into her and encourage her to keep pursuing, not be afraid of fear, not be afraid of failing, and, continue to encourage her, so, yeah.
Well, what was it like being a dance dad? Because, this, like, don't be afraid of failing,
Mhm.
um, is very entrepreneurial,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But,
exactly.
like, how did the bridge happen between entrepreneur and dance dad? What was the similarities there?
Hmm. I mean, again, there's definitely I mean, dance, you're in a team. But there's a lot of solo competitions. So again, for her, I would always want to encourage her to be creative, to come up with new ideas. Because again, as when she would come up with choreography, things like that is where she could express
Yeah.
her individualism. Which me in business has always been my creativity, my ideas has kind of been my side of business. So I think just the creativity and helping her with that. I mean, she's when she was in high school, she would have her own stuff at school and come up with, like, flyers and dance things to promote different dance pieces that she would do. She also would do editing and of her own, music, to find some music that's on the radio or on Spotify, but you gotta cut out the cuss words. So the
Yeah,
things I've
yeah.
done with being online and
Yeah.
doing video and editing, so a lot of, like, the creative side of her production, of her pieces and things like that, making her a website, putting all her videos up there,
Yeah.
stuff like that has been the kinda the main correlation, I'd say.
Well, you said something interesting there, individualism, and you're wearing your own brand,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, like, what role does individualism have in, like, the extraordinary life built?
Hmm. Um, yeah, again, I feel like, again, though we're influenced by other people, um, not just being true to yourself, but knowing yourself. Again, it's like, yeah, I think that's just a key thing. Kind of, we kind of said that theme a few times about that self awareness of what matters to you. Is a big difference. It's a big thing that makes a difference. I think it's an old rap song that sticks out to me. I think it's a Run DMC song.
Uh-huh.
There's a line that said, "Calvin Klein is no friend of mine. Don't want nobody's name on my behind."
Oh,
So
yeah,
if you're gonna
okay.
wear some names on you, and
Yeah,
it's
uh-huh.
like, why not wear my own name? So
Yeah.
again, that's just the spirit, the perspective that again, I think I grew up though. I think my mom, she had like a necklace with her letter. Her name was Irene, so she had an eye. Like she would have her own stuff. She wrote her own book. So just I
Yeah,
think again, it's a lot of in my upbringing, seeing people do their own thing. I think my brother, we should design our own stuff. So there's
yeah,
always been that
yeah.
that side of me. Yeah.
So, what does your balance look like between creation and consumption? Because, like, we're my opinion is we're always doing one of the things. We're either consuming or we're creating.
Hmm.
And what I see as a red thread in all these extraordinary that these people are so heavily creation.
Yeah.
How how do you go through life and balance whatever your ratio is from creation?
Yeah. I mean, right now, I've decided to, and I've always been creative, but again, it's always, by the hip. So
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
like inspired. I do something. The last book I wrote it in 30 days. Oh, I'm gonna write a book on AI.
Uh-huh.
So I told my coach I'm gonna write a book.
Uh-huh.
I was done in like 2, 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
It was published,
Yeah.
self-published, and a month later. So I get inspired. But this year I definitely is like Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm gonna try this whole year to just be structured. In one sense, I do that for my own content. At Bot Builders, I do an AI mastermind, which is great for the feedback from community.
Sure.
So to me, if I can talk to people and always ask questions and get feedback, that helps to inspire me to figure out what I'm gonna talk about as well. So
Yeah.
to me, the balance between creation and consumption is the feedback from the audience. Having an audience,
Yeah.
having people to respond to you and get back to you. Um, but again, as far as not letting it not being out of balance, again, that's I'm not saying it's a struggle, but that's always I have to put in constraints
Yeah.
around myself where I can like right now my phone's on do not disturb. There's different times I have
Yeah.
to like not just single task. I call it single tab. And
Single tab.
you put up somebody's Chrome browser and you see 57 browsers open, which to me is
Uh-huh.
a metaphor to their mind sometimes. We can be have so many different things and
100%.
and so
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely single tabbing myself in the mornings, especially that I can
Okay.
kinda focus in on before things go crazy and then I
Yeah.
kinda give into the content. But there's never a limit of content. There's never a limit
Yeah.
of voices and sounds and things to think about. So it's a constant kind of nuance, I guess.
So, single tabbing, and what you said that was really cool about the feedback is, being curious about what other people have to say about
Yeah.
it, right? That
Mhm.
feedback, and like I think that's a great way to consume stuff. Is like let me consume feedback as much as I can.
Mm.
Let me have feedback, and curiosity guide my
Yeah.
right. I'm curious what you are curious about lately.
Lately, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm in the AI world. But agents, agentic AI, because again, AI that does stuff for you. Even when AI first came out, within like a couple months, I was using this thing called Augment. It's no longer around, but it was sitting on my computer and it would watch everything. So like think about meeting recordings, but it was all automated. It would
Right.
remember. I could research and like remind me what I was doing. So I've always
Oh,
liked AI that
yeah.
was fully connected. I didn't have to like, context switch. Stop what I'm doing, go into an AI, ask it a question, get an answer, and then go back into work. So this whole world of agents, whatever that means, because there's definitely a
Yeah.
wide variety of definitions, but just trying to get AI to do stuff for me proactively without me doing things is the thing that I've been looking at constantly. And that's what I work on at night. That's my next not saying book with my articles, things that I've been talking about and thinking about because I guess I feel like I don't not that I don't do enough, but I'm like I think there's more that could be done
I
if I
see.
can just kind of like employees or
Right.
outsourcing. I just want more done.
Yeah. So then what do you think the relationship is between human intelligence and artificial? What does that look like to you?
Mm, I was just thinking about I had another word for artificial intelligence. I think it was independent intelligence. I mean, the big thing, the connection is I mean, again, AI is like infinite, but we are finite. So when you're working with AI, the goal is to give it your finiteness.
Uh-huh.
The goal is to teach it what you know, what you care about. It's like it's not about you learning AI. You need your AI to learn about you. So the connection, yeah, it's like, how do I get something? It's like leadership. How do you
Yeah.
inspire? How do you make someone better? To me, it's how do you translate, transpose, transmute what you know, what you believe into this infinitely thing and give it focus and let it do things for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I think that's the connection because the opposite is I don't know how to do this. Let me get this thing to do it for me, which is a little bit of a disconnect. It can work,
Mm.
but there's a lot of gaps in that philosophy. I don't know how to code software, so let me get AI to write me an app. I get that, but what if you took your genius, what you're really good at, and you could 10x what you're really good at. So instead of using it, then you can manage it and you can guide it and you can direct it and you can QA it because you actually know what good looks like
Yeah.
versus this distant thing that's just creating something. Oh, I can speak in 10 different languages.
Right.
You don't know them and you can't edit it. You can't understand the quality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me, that's the connection. It's taking your SOPs, your processes, your best practices, and how can you give it to AI, which can catch on to it and do what you need it to do based upon how you work.
So it sounds like you're saying that you think that, like, we need to be more human and just let AI kinda augment the pieces of us that accelerate our own genius instead of, you know, trying to chase a new genius because we have this. Am I kind of understanding that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just definitely, yeah, teach it to replicate you, especially the things that aren't too strategic or too critical or security focused types of things. And then how can you spend more time focusing on, again, the things that are human,
Yeah.
that are physical, that are, and I think that's kind of where the world is going to go into. People are going to, they want connections. They're going to want even more connections, as everything on our device is not to be trusted,
Yeah.
like 100%.
Right.
100%. There's nothing there's no reason to trust anything through the phone,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
that sense of connection is there's gonna be a gap and a longing for more, other stuff, and,
That's something that Aaron and I wrote about in exponential theory was this idea that, you know, while technology is exponential,
mhm,
humans are linear.
mhm,
You know, so how do you see you're kind of touching on it here about like a return to connection. You know, like how do you see human progress is gonna go while this technology just continues to exponentially outpace everybody?
mm. That's gonna be tough to answer. I mean, human progress, um, yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I think things are gonna have to evolve. I think the future is not gonna be based upon the past.
Okay.
So if we think about the future, if you think about, and I'm not a historian in any way, so I just think that the future is gonna look a lot different than the past. So we have to like redefine what the world is gonna look like, what relationships look like, if your sense of identity is in your doing, and if AI can do it for you and better than you and without you, where do you find your sense of significance and identity? There's a lot of like deeper existential type of philosophical questions that I think we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
But the foundation is again with connecting to people is gonna be even more important, and a sense of yourself and finding a sense of peace regardless, even in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier about seasons, I had, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I dealt with seasons of life that I couldn't control and I began to freak out and I just didn't know how to handle it. I think everybody's, it's like a not a mini COVID. When COVID happened,
Yeah.
the world went through some stuff that we didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
We didn't know what the future was going to look like. So we had to I feel like that was a test of what do you do when you think things are going crazy? And hopefully most of us, it's only 5 years ago, we learned some things. And I think as AI comes and as it does, it's gonna shake up some things. There's gonna be you got like a kinda like round two. How do
Yeah.
you have a sense of security, humanity, relationship, identity when things may have a patch of craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious now, like how do you stick to your sense of identity as you still go through
Mm. Again, I think it evolves. I think the way we sense our identity is based upon our experience. And as our experiences change, our identity can change. Even again with relationships, married my wife 21 years ago. I thought she was one way, and that's when they're like, okay, she changed. I thought you were this way. We
Right.
said we were going to do this,
Uh-huh.
but just being able to evolve as other people evolve. But I think that your sense of self, um, I think that's going to change as things change, and even you know, yeah, it's just like even how do you, yeah, it's like a sense of peace even with the unknown. It's like whether you call that God, the universe, or just the unknown. You have to have a sense of peace with the unknown, and I think if you can grow in that sense of peace, you can weather the storms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what role do you think certainty has
Mm,
for people? You know, like I I view certainty as a bad thing,
mm,
limiting thing in my life. Anytime I was certain,
mm,
that's my life.
mm.
You know, you were
Interesting.
talking about peace with the unknown,
Yeah.
but that's my perspective on it. You know, what role does certainty have for you?
Yeah, I don't really use that word much.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a word that comes to mind often. Um, yeah, yeah, I don't yeah, I honestly don't have an answer for that because I think is like I said, things aren't certain. Or, but again, in another sense, again, if I go back to the spiritual perspective, I'm definitely I'm certain with what I can't control.
Ah,
If I can't control it, I have peace about it.
ah,
So I put my focus on what I can control,
ah.
and I don't worry about what I can't control. So I'm certain that I will try to not freak out about the things I can't control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. I'm the only thing I'm certain is that I don't know. You know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'd say change is certain, right? The only thing,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, that's the only thing you can bet on is that it's not gonna
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right. So how do you balance the long-term vision that you have with your short-term day-to-day? Like, 'cause we've talked about single tabbing in the morning and hyper focus present, all
Mhm.
the habits you have that keep you present. And at the same time, you're a futurist that's like out of this vision. How do you where does that balance?
To be honest, the balance is I don't think a lot. I think about the future in a short term sense, 3, 5 years. I've never been like a 10-year,
Yeah,
20-year type of visionary person, probably because again, the way I grew up, you know, life was hustle. Life was kind of a survival-ish. I
sure,
definitely learned how to survive. I learned how to take care. I learned how to pivot and be quick to deal with whatever's happening. So again, that's probably a large part of my personality is I let the future worry about itself, and I'm going to handle what I can handle now. So, but again, but this is honestly the first time in life with the fact of AI and what now that I've never been so consumed with something that wasn't just immediate. There were kind of given implications in the near future. So yeah, this is the first time in life I've had to like wrestle or reconcile with the unknown. Because I used to call AI the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unknown. And so but again, my energy and my focus is only on what I can do. I would say
right,
be proactive and positive. There's no doubt that, things can be crazy. Things may get crazy because humans are humans. Humans
right,
are they are who they are. And so they're the ones that are controlling AI and programming AI. And AI will learn from, oh, look at these humans. They were crazy. So
right.
there's that
Yeah,
sense. So again, being proactive and being positive because whatever you see the world the way you are, right?
right.
And so in one sense, I can talk about concerns in the future, but then I always just take a breath and look at what's in my hand and look at who's in front of me.
Yeah, yeah,
And I have to like put my energy and attention towards what I can see right
yeah,
now. Cause that's
right.
kind of how I do it.
I love it. I love it. I ask everybody that comes on Extraordinary Story this question. If there was one piece of advice our listeners could do today, and you've had so many, but if there was one that sticks out as like how to live more extraordinarily like you have,
Mm,
what would that piece of advice be?
mm. Yeah, I'm gonna just repeat the thing I just said, which is I think that positive and proactive posture
Yeah,
helps you to see again as long as you're still breathing. You've got more time, you've got more life, and you will again, whatever you're looking for, you'll find. So by being positive, you might see a positive perspective, and if you're proactive, you actually take the next step forward towards that because you need both. You can't just have a good disposition and just be reading books all day like me and
yeah.
not do
No, no,
anything
no,
with it.
no.
But if you can see the light and walk towards the light, then I think you'll have a good life.
Right. You can't be negative and proactive. That's not what we need. Yeah.
No, not at
uh,
all, not at
that's
all.
awesome. You
Yeah.
can read more about Arvell at joinextraordinary.com. That's joinextraordinary.com. I'm Forbes Shannon.
Arvell Craig.
Thanks for being here, man. That
Thank
was a lot
you.
of fun.
This is awesome.